Welcome back, Portal Masters, to episode 2 of Ask Matt. I am your host, SCL Matt, and my oh my, do we have a lot to talk about this week. You guys responded more than I ever imagined, and so there's a lot of questions to go through. And because of that, I want to set a few ground rules going forward. The main rule is going to be one question per person per week. If you leave more than one question, I'm just gonna ignore them all because I know you're not watching these videos, you're not following the rules, and that's just how we're gonna do it. So one question per person per week. So for those of you who don't know, if this is your first episode, if you have a question for me that you want answered in these videos, leave it down in the comments below, and I will answer it in next week's video. The other thing I will address is because we have so many questions, and this very well could happen every week, but even if it doesn't, I think it's going to be helpful for all of you out there. I am going to split up this video, and I'm going to tag each question, basically. So if you look down in the description below, you'll see times listed next to each and every question that is in this video. So if you just want to look for the answer to your question, you can go look through that list, find your question, and the time will be right there next to it. You know where you have to go in the video. If you're using a desktop computer, you should just be able to click on the time right there in the description, and it'll jump to that point in the video. Unfortunately, if you're on a mobile device, they don't have that quite set up yet, so you'll have to just take that time and use your finger to scroll over to that point in the video. In any case, I'm really hoping that I have enough space on this memory card. I cleared out as much space as I possibly could. I'm hoping my battery in the camera lasts through this whole thing. I don't know how long it's going to take, so we're going to jump right into the questions. So I'm not even going to try with all of your names. I'll try to print them down below so you know who asked what question and such, but we'll see how this goes. This is my first week with a lot of questions and a lot of different people, so we're gonna hope this works out how I want it to. First question, which battle class speaks to you the most? So for those of you who don't know, who haven't played Skylanders Imaginators yet, we have 10 battle classes in Skylanders Imaginators, and they're all quite different. Typically, I lean towards melee, but the quick shot battle class is one I'm awful fond of. I haven't tried it out with an Imaginator yet, but I am definitely looking forward to it. So I think I'd have to answer for now. If I'd pick one, I would go with the quick shot, and we'll see if that changes down the road, especially with the different upgrades and such, if that sways my opinion. But I am fond of the quick shot class right now. Next question. There feels like a massive power creep in Skylanders Imaginators. Are Series 1 and 2 characters competitive in this game? For example, my favorite characters are Legendary, Chill, and Stealth Elf. To be perfectly honest, I haven't had the time to put any of the older characters in the game yet. I just barely got through using all of the senseis, and now I am trying to play around with the Imaginators some more and see what their different powers are and see if I can design a decent looking character and all that stuff. So maybe this week I'll get to try some of the older characters, see how they line up. I have heard from some other people that they seem to have been nerfed a lot, and they do feel quite weak. And this is something we see in every game to some extent. They really want you to use the newest characters. They want you to get those characters, so they make the newest characters the strongest, and anything from the previous games, while they still work, they nerf them and they are now weaker. Their attacks are weaker. They probably take more damage, and it's going to make it more of a challenge for you if you want to play the game. Maybe that's something you can do, is try to play through the game with just your Spyro's Adventure characters and see how far you make it. But yeah, I haven't been able to try it myself, but I know other people have been saying that there is a big noticeable difference. Next question, do you like Harry Potter? Yes, oh yes, I do like Harry Potter. What you don't see on these shelves right here, up on the very top shelf, is a couple of dozen Harry Potter Funko figures. Maybe I'll have to make a separate video about that sometime, about everything I have up on this shelf here. It's not just Skylanders. There is some Harry Potter stuff up there as well. I do have a bunch of Harry Potter Legos. For those of you who don't know, I actually have a Harry Potter podcast. It's called Tales from Godric's Hollow. I have read through the series many times. I've watched the movies dozens of times. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. And my friend Josh Brown, from the Toys for Games podcast that I'm on with, a guest on sometimes, he has never read any Harry Potter books. Never. It was just, I couldn't let that go. So I told him, hey, we're going to get you to read these. We're going to start a podcast about it. So our podcast is called Tales from Godric's Hollow, and we are taking Josh on a journey through the Harry Potter series for the very first time. And it's been quite exciting so far. So if you're into Harry Potter, if you listen to podcasts, I hope you'll give that a chance. The first couple episodes I know are kind of rough. You'll have to bear with me through those, but we've finally gotten into a rhythm, and I'm happy to say I'm pleased with where this podcast is going. Josh is very much enjoying Harry Potter as well, and it's a good thing. So I hope you check that out. Next question then. Do you think Activision has the formula back down for future Skylanders games so that we don't get another SuperChargers incident? Well, I would have to argue a little bit with the wording of that question. I didn't have as much of a problem with SuperChargers that everybody else seemed to have. I do agree there were spots where it was weak. I do agree there are things that they could have done better. But I don't think that it was as bad as what people made it out to be, in my opinion. I didn't think it was as bad. Was it the best Skylanders game ever? Probably not. But my first impression was good with it. I played through it multiple times, mostly because I was making videos and such, but I enjoyed it. I didn't have a problem with it, and a lot of the things people were complaining about, I don't know, they didn't bother me. So I didn't think SuperChargers was quite as bad, but do I think they're back on track? Do I think they've kind of found a formula that works now with Imaginators? Absolutely. I'm still playing through Imaginators for my first time. I haven't made it through everything. I haven't explored everywhere, but everything I've seen has been so good so far, and I can only see them doing bigger and better things. If they catch on that they did a good job this year, they've figured out what people like, and there's just a few small details that people are complaining about this year, but for the vast majority of people, this is Skylanders. This is what they were waiting for, and we are all very happy to see that it's here. So, do I think they found that formula again? Absolutely. The question is, will they stick to it? How far will they stray? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens next year. But I do think they found a lot of good things about this year's game, and I hope they carry some of them over into the next game as well. How do you feel about Kaos being a Skylander now? What do you like/dislike about him? Well, once again here, I'm going to have to say it. I haven't actually used Kaos yet. I've kind of been saving him for... I didn't want to use him in my first playthrough. I will probably pull him out when we get to some of the sensei realms, maybe, or doing some other miscellaneous activities around the map. But for my first playthrough of the main story, it didn't feel right to use Kaos. I would probably I might even make a separate run with just Kaos and see how that goes, or something like that. But I really haven't played as Kaos yet. As far as him being a Skylander, well, I want to note, the figure that we have, if you haven't read the backstory about it, that is not actually Kaos. It is a clone of Kaos, which I think it is an interesting little twist. How they allow us to be playing as Kaos along with Kaos still being the bad guy. It kind of makes sense. It makes more sense actually than when we had trapped Kaos in Trap Team and then took him in and fought against Kaos. That didn't make nearly as much sense because that was actually Kaos versus Kaos. So I'm okay with it. I think they explained it enough to the point where it makes sense, and I'm excited to try them out. So I'll try to get back to you on that too when I do finally get to try them out, or you can just watch my videos when I do get to play with them. Do you prefer Vicarious Visions games to Toys for Bob? Because I personally do not. I hate the look of the chompies in Swap Force and SuperChargers, and I love the fabulous surroundings of the Toys for Bob games. Which do you prefer? I, as well, prefer Toys for Bob 100%. They are the original creators of Skylanders. They designed the world. They designed most of the enemies. Whenever we get to Toys for Bob here, it feels like we're coming back home. It feels like things are right with the world again. And I know a lot of people say Swap Force was their favorite game, their favorite Skylanders game. And it did have a lot of good things going for it, but at the same time, it took this huge swerve from what we knew Skylanders to be in the first two games. And some things made it better, sure, but it was different. And in my opinion, it wasn't necessarily different in a good way all the time. So I guess I do enjoy the Toys for Bob Skylanders a lot more. I have good things I can find about the Vicarious Visions games as well as their figures as well, but Toys for Bob will always be the best Skylanders in my opinion. So what is the deal with the game guide? Is it best to choose a battle class that matches Elemental Sensei? So first question, what is the deal with the game guide? I know I've had a couple people ask about this. Prima Games that has created the strategy guides for Skylanders for the past who knows how many years. It started out as Brady Games, but then Prima Games bought Brady Games, so I just talk about Prima now. But Prima Games has stated that they are not coming out with a guide this year. I don't know why. I don't know if... Yeah, like, I really don't, because this year, of all the years, almost seems like there would be more to talk about. Last year, if you're going to skip a year, I would have skipped last year because all the collectibles were in random places. There wasn't much of a strategy guide to give you. But this year, when the map is so huge, we could definitely use a map of the map in a strategy guide to tell us where all the locations are, and the collectibles are back to being in set locations, so we could use that in the strategy guide. I will be trying to get up videos of my 100% walkthroughs to help you guys out with some of that eventually, but for the time being, yeah, Prima has stated that they are not coming out with a strategy guide for Skylanders this year. I really don't know why, but all I know is that they are not coming out with a guide this year. Then your second question, is it best to choose a battle class that matches the Elemental Sensei? I'm a little confused with this question. I think you're asking is it best to choose a battle class that matches... So are you saying like if you have a water crystal, and so a water sensei is Kingpin, he's a brawler, should you make a brawler as well? If that's your question, I would say no. I would say go for as much variety as possible. So if you want a water brawler, just use Kingpin. But if you have a water crystal, then I would choose one that isn't already created as a sensei. It could go either way. You could say, oh, they made a water brawler work, so that should be a good combination. But I like variety. I'm going to try something else. So I would definitely steer away from what the sensei of the same element already is. I would try something else different. Simple question, but what is your favorite Skylanders game? Honestly, as much as people like Swap Force, it is not my favorite game. With Swap Force, I thought the levels were too long. There are a few other mechanics and mini games in there and such that I didn't really care for. My favorite game is honestly still Spyro's Adventure, the original. I know there's things about it like you can't jump and that sort of thing, but just the story in it, the characters, I thought the levels were a good length because they were relatively short that you could just breeze through them if you wanted. But when you went and tried to collect everything, it actually took a good amount of time. It could still take you a while to get through that level and collect everything, and I very much enjoyed that. So I would have to go with Spyro's Adventure yet. Now, is there a possibility that Imaginators could take that place away from Spyro's Adventure? I definitely think there is. But right now, I would have to go with Spyro's Adventure. That is still my favorite game. It's where I got introduced to the series, and it's a game I go back and play time and time again. I have played Spyro's Adventure a number of times. I'm actually planning on playing it again this year. I hope to start up some sort of Skylanders Rewind series where I go back and play the older games and kind of mix them in with what I'm doing now. So, because I know there's people that are just joining the series for the first time, and I want to show them where Skylanders came from and how much fun some of the earlier games can be. So I want to give them a chance to look at that, and maybe they'll go back and play them as well. Who do you like more, Tri-Chip or Chopscotch? This is a little bit of a tricky question as well, because I don't have all my figures fully upgraded, and I don't usually like start picking favorites until they're fully upgraded. But early reaction, 100% goes to Chopscotch. Tri-Tip isn't bad. He's very powerful, but Chopscotch has a fair amount of power, and she's a lot more fun to play. I guess she's a little more my style. Her two basic attacks, the overhead chop and then the spinning chop that clears out big areas, they work a lot better for me than just the overhead smash and the charge that Tri-Tip has to start off with. So that's a big indicator for me that I'm going to lean towards Chopscotch rather than Tri-Tip. So early reaction, but I would definitely go with Chopscotch early on. Maybe worth a video itself, but a question nevertheless. What are your most and least favorite characters throughout the series for each element, and why? Yeah, you're right. That probably is a video in and of itself, and maybe I'll break that down sometime. I'm sorry, I cannot answer that question right now. That's too much to get into. What is your main occupation? All right, so I don't talk about this a lot because I know it makes some people angry, but this right here is actually my full-time occupation. I have been blessed enough that I've gotten the site to a point, SkylandersCharacterList.com, to a point where it is bringing in an income, and that helps me. I mean, it's to a point where I'm comfortable with it. Now, it's not at a point where I would feel comfortable living off of it because the income is so unpredictable. But thanks to my wife, she is still working full-time. She is a nurse. And so between both of our incomes, we can get by. it's a decision we made together that this is something I enjoy very much, and it's something that is producing an income. It's not great, it's not where I really want it to be yet, but it is currently my full-time job. So that's it is what it is. I know some people won't like to hear that I more or less play with video games for a living, but it's true. It's what I do. How many Skylanders games do you think they will make? They will keep making Skylanders games until the bigwigs up at Activision decide that they're not bringing in enough money. And even then, who knows? They could very well bring them back. Just look at what they did with Guitar Hero. It was gone for a couple years, and now they brought it back. That was Activision too. They run it into the ground until it's not making any money, and who knows? Maybe they'll be able to bring it back someday. But right now, they're going to keep making games. If Imaginators is actually doing as well as it feels like it is, people are enjoying it, people are buying it, people are keep playing it and keep spreading the word and getting more people to buy it, that's going to be a great sign for Activision to keep making these games. And they're going to keep making them until, like I said, they don't make enough money. So if you want to keep seeing Skylanders, keep buying Skylanders. That's all I can say. Yeah, it seems like they're becoming less and less popular. This year, Toys R Us didn't even set up the main section in front solely for them. And yeah, and that isn't an indication of what's going on this year. That's an indication of what's happened in the past 2 years. Because both Trap Team and SuperChargers, it started with Swap Force when they were in this big upswing before any of the competition came in. And then the competition kind of took a chunk of their profits, but they were still on this incline, and they way overproduced their figures. They still overproduced a lot of figures in Trap Team, and stores just couldn't sell them all. And so then SuperChargers came, and they still didn't have all their numbers figured out, and stores got just inundated with all of this product that they couldn't sell. And it partly because those games weren't enjoyed as much by the majority of people, I guess, and stores just the retailers decided that it wasn't something they wanted to put as much time and effort into anymore this year. So hopefully you guys are out there buying the Skylanders product, buying all the product off the shelves, making them bare, showing them that we want this product, getting them to order more again, and who knows, maybe they'll start ramping up their purchases, and we'll see an increase, and that's what we want. Now, that's how we keep the game going. So, what's the better value? Mystery chest in store 2 for $10 or buying online for $9.99? So, the mystery chests, they were on sale week 1 at Toys R Us, 2 for $10. The big question is, do you want the little physical chests? If you want the physical chest, then yeah, 2 for $10 in store is a better deal. Now, if you just buying this stuff to unlock the parts and you don't care about the chests, then digital is the way to go. They're a little bit cheaper. The mystery chests, the digital versions, are actually only $4.99 regularly, so they're always going to be a little bit cheaper. But if you if you are buying online, I would highly recommend taking a step up and buying the platinum chest. Now, you can't get these in stores. This is a digital only thing, but the platinum chest goes for $9.99 and actually gives you 20 items, and at least 7 of them are guaranteed to be ultimate items. So this is going to be your best value. It's better than buying 2 mystery chests, because in 2 mystery chests you're only going to get 18 items, and you're not guaranteed as many ultimate items, because it's possible you could get 2 gold chests and then you could get more ultimate items, but
if you're going for best guaranteed value, the platinum chest is definitely where it's at. So I would, if you don't care about the physical chests, or if you've already gotten your physical chests, I would go for the platinum chest online. So do you think there will be another game, or is this the last one? The way things have been going, the reaction we've gotten from people, the way the reviews are turning out, I honestly think there will be another Skylanders game. There is always the chance Activision could just shut the doors and say, we're done, that's it, Skylanders is done. And once again, there's always a chance they could resurrect it. Like I said, they did it with Guitar Hero, who knows, they could do it again. But as of right now, as of the way the sales have been going, people's reaction to the game, I definitely think there is good potential for another game. It's likely they already had something in the works, but obviously we haven't heard anything about it. They don't like to talk about 2 years ahead. They were strictly focused on Imaginators whenever we're talking to them in the past couple months, and they will only be talking Imaginators for the next couple months. We won't know until next spring, summertime, what their plans are really. It's possible we'll find out in one of their financial reports. Sometimes they occasionally drop hints as to, oh, and they're working on another Skylanders game for next year, but that's kind of rare too, and it's not something we can count on. So personally, yes, I do think another game will be coming, but we don't have any information. Do we know anything about the Enchanted Elven Forest Adventure Pack sighting at Walmart? So, for those of you who don't know, Walmart, when they put up their display for Skylanders Imaginators, they included tags for an adventure pack that is called, that I think just says like Adventure Pack Treehouse, or Skylanders Imaginators Treehouse, or something like that. And it was right next to, and the same price as, Skylanders Imaginators Observatory, which, as you know, should know now, is the Griffin Park Observatory Adventure Pack. And we do know that the second, or the other adventure pack is the Enchanted Elven Forest. It comes with Boom Bloom and an air creation crystal, but that's about all we know about it right now. Other than there are tags up for it at most Walmart stores. There have been rumors that it is, well, that it was supposed to come out on the 21st of October. Obviously, that date has come and gone, so that's not going to happen. But it is possible that we've talked to some employees, and from what they can tell, they don't have any in stock, but it's what they call on order, which usually means that it's coming soon. And that would explain why they had the tags out for it right away. But is Walmart the only store that's getting it? Are they getting it early? Is it a timed exclusive? Is it a store exclusive? We don't have any of that information right now. As soon as I find out something, I will be sure to let you know. I've been keeping my eye out there. I used to work at Walmart, so I will be talking to some of the people I still know there and see if they can get me any more information about it. But right now, we don't know anything more. What do we know about Noel Chompy Mage? Well, I can tell you right now that we know it is not actually called Noel Chompy Mage. This is the Christmas variant that we got more information on. It must have been just this past week, actually. It is called Jingle Bell Chompy Mage, and we got our first image of this. It was in the Toys R Us Big Book, I believe, or the Toys R Us ad. One of the upcoming Christmas ads did actually have a picture of it. Didn't really say much about it, but it was pictured in that ad. And so we got our first look at Jingle Bell Chompy Mage. We don't know when it's coming out yet. Typically, these variants come out in early December. So there's a couple weeks you can get it before Christmas comes up, because that's what it's intended for. It's The Christmas variant typically is dressed up like Santa Claus, and Chompy Mage is no different this year. He definitely fits that mold. Other than being, he's a little skinnier than your typical Santa Claus, but he's got the big red robe. He's got the beard. He's got it all going on, and the figure actually looks pretty nice. There is an article up on the site about that if you want to check it out. So, how did you first get into Skylanders? What were some of the first Skylanders you got? And all of the Skylanders games, which one is your favorite? All right, so how did I first get into Skylanders? Well, to be honest, I was just looking for a new game to play. I needed something that was easy, that I didn't have to think about too much. And I know that kind of sounds bad, but that's why a lot of people enjoy Skylanders. They can just relax while they play. It's not an up-tense first-person shooter. It's not a horror. It's not a mystery that they have to solve all the time. It's a simple, delightful game, and that's what I found. And I tried it out, and I enjoyed it very much. And I found there's a second one. I didn't get into Skylanders until halfway through Skylanders Giants, and so I had the first two games at my disposal right away, and I played through them and enjoyed them both. And as soon as we got to Skylanders Swap Force, I was in on day one. So, what were some of the first Skylanders you got? I think this is. I'll tie this into the next question as well. Who is your very first character, no starter pack, you ever bought? So, what happened was, I saw it and I wasn't quite sure about it, so I looked into it some more, and I saw someone, I think it was actually on Craigslist, that was selling the Spyro's Adventure and Giants, a portal, and about 10 to 12 figures in a lot on Craigslist. I think they're only asking like $25 or something like that. And especially back then, during the Giants period, that was a great deal. I think there was even a Boomer in there. And for those of you longtime collectors, you know, back in the Giants era, Boomer was actually really hard to find. So yeah, it was a great deal, and I picked it up, and best deal I ever made for a video game, I think. It's let's see. So there was Boomer in there. There was Kree-Rex. A lot of your classics. There was Spyro and Gil Grunt, and man, who else was in Trigger Happy? So it was basically the starter pack from Spyro's Adventures, starter pack from Giants. So there's Cinder in there, and then just a couple other figures like Boomer and maybe a Dino Rang. I don't remember exactly, but that was my first experience with Skylanders. That's the first batch of characters I got. The first ones I bought new then were when I got into Swap Force. And it wasn't till partway through Swap Force when I decided, okay, I'm gonna start collecting all of these, and that's when I went back and started picking up all of the Spyro's Adventure and Giants figures that I missed. But all the Swap Force ones then I got as they came out, and yeah, that's where it all started. So I guess the first character I bought new that wasn't in a starter pack would have to be from Swap Force Day 1, which would have been like Magnet Charge and man, I can't remember back that far right now. But yeah, you can look it up if you're really that curious. But that's my background. That's where I got into Skylanders. And of all the Skylanders games, which one is your favorite? I think I've answered that already. Where do you get your Skylanders cheapest? Do you ever sell any of your spare ones? There are still some my fiance and I want, but prices of them are so exorbitant that it's pretty ridiculous. I would agree, yes, there are some ridiculous prices out there. Where do I find cheap ones? Right now, I don't really look for cheap ones because my collection is fairly complete as far as the older ones go. I tend to buy as soon as they come out, so I don't run into that problem anymore. But back in the day when I was trying to fill in my collection, eBay it is a great place, honestly. If you have the money to spare, look for the big lots of Skylanders. They usually turn out to be your best deal. Yeah, they're going to have some figures in that you don't want, but the fact of the matter is, most people don't want to buy a big lot. They don't want to spend that much. And so when you break it down, like the per figure cost in those lots, it is way cheaper than anything else you're going to find. So instead of paying $15 for the one figure you want, you could be paying $50 for, I don't know, 40, 50 characters. And that's going to be better for you. Maybe you'll be able to sell off some of those characters to someone else, or maybe you can give them away as gifts and get other people interested in Skylanders. Who knows? There's a lot of things you can do with those other figures, but that's usually where I went to complete my collection, was eBay, because I was going to open up anyway, so I didn't care if they were used. You can keep an eye on Craigslist. That one's a little bit harder. GameStop does have depending on where you live, their used figure selection can be pretty good, and you can run across some gold mines. The only problem is that they do research the characters, and so their prices are kind of based on the current market. So if there's a rare one there, they're probably going to mark it up. But at the same time, they often have sales like the buy two get three free, which sounds ridiculous, but it's true. It's a sale they have quite often, and it can bring those figure prices down. So that's the other place I bought a few from time to time. But yeah, so do I ever sell any of my spare ones? I did back in the day when I would buy huge lots, and I only needed, I would buy a huge lot of like 100 figures. I'd only need 50 of them, and then the other 50 I would sell off or give away. Or I've had friends of people I work with or my wife works with that were into Skylanders and didn't have a complete collection, so we would just give them to them. It's give them away to the kids. That's what I feel. That they're the ones who are going to enjoy them the most. They're gonna appreciate them the most, I guess. And yeah, I did what I could. So I don't have any spare ones right now. I think I'm pretty much cleared out. We'll see what happens with Imaginators, but I might have a few spares eventually. Half a joke, half serious. Do we know what happened to the US release of Thrillipede? Well, yes and no. I have a rumor that I've only shared with a couple people. I don't have any way to prove if it's true. Their sources are pretty solid, but I haven't spoken directly with their sources, and that's why I say it's just a rumor, and really why I haven't shared it with anybody else yet. But this is what I've heard. One possible solution, you can take it for what it is if you want to say, yeah, this is why, but don't take this as absolute truth. We don't know this for sure. It's just one possible explanation for what happened. So for those of you who have seen Thrillipede, you know he has the grenades in his hand. In the renderings, we know he actually had extra grenades, and he had the pin in his mouth and everything, and they removed some of that before the final production. Now the story goes that the grenades were too realistic looking, which they are fairly realistic, and the toys themselves, if you look on the packaging, it says 6+, meaning that it's rated for ages 6 and up. And apparently, if you have realistic looking weapons, whether it be grenades or guns or whatever the case may be, I guess there's some rule or law in the US that it needs to be rated like 10 and up or something like that. It seems like a little minute detail, but at the same time, it sounds believable. Like, I don't know why someone didn't catch this sooner in the process and they change it and get around all of this. But that's what I've been told held it up, like maybe at customs or something like that. I really have no way of telling if this is true or not, but it's the most believable story I've heard so far. So it could be true. It could be completely made up. Take it for what you will. If that explanation works for you, okay. Regardless of whether or not that's the explanation, it still does not excuse Activision for how they handled the situation. They didn't communicate it to their customer base, their fans, their loyal fans and customers. All they ever told us was that it was now available in stores, which didn't happen. And so when that didn't happen, they should have said, tell us there's a delay. Tell us that something happened. I mean, tell us, just retract that statement even, saying that it was available in stores right now. Because obviously, like I said, that never happened. So I don't know exactly what happened. If you really want one, you can import one from the UK. I think most of Europe has them. But yeah, if they haven't released them yet, I don't see it happening anytime soon, unfortunately. When do you think the Kingpen single pack will be out? Honestly, I don't think we'll see a Kingpen single pack. I know we did get single packs of the starter pack figures last year, but that's also when we had so many different variations of the starter pack and the characters differed between starter packs, and like Spitfire wasn't in the Nintendo starter pack, and so it made sense to release him as an individual character so those people could buy him separately. But right now, Kingpen is in every single starter pack. He's in the standard starter pack, he's in the Crash Edition, and he's in the Dark Edition. I see no reason whatsoever to release him separately. Same thing with Golden Queen. I wouldn't expect to see her separate. We will be getting Fire Creation Crystals separately. Maybe, probably not of the Fire Reactor version that's in the starter pack, but yeah, I see no reason to release single packs of those figures this year. So I don't think it's going to happen. Are you married? Well, yes, I am. You can see the ring right here if you've seen some of the videos. In some of the other questions already, I have referenced my wife, Becca. As I said, she is a nurse. We are married. We live in this house. Yeah, we're happily married for 5 years, five and a half years now. Things are going well. Enjoying life. Who is your favorite co-host? This question from Rob over at CoinOp TV, who I occasionally do joint video podcast live streaming videos actually with him over on his channel at CoinOp TV. If you haven't checked us out, I do try to tweet out when we're going live with those episodes. We should actually be going live this Friday, I think we're planning on it. So stay tuned. Those episodes are usually at noon Pacific time. So that's about 2 p.m. here in Central Time where I am, 3 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Mountain, if someone lives in Mountain Time there. Yeah, I think this Friday, I think we have something planned, so stay tuned for that. Did anyone order a creator figure before it said sold out? And if not, when will they go on sale? So yes, this is another question I should have addressed a while ago probably, but in the Skylanders Creator app, this is where you can actually order the 3D printed figures of your Imaginators. It seems they are taking these orders in waves. They are only taking like a couple hundred orders at a time, and they open up the ordering system at random times. We don't know when it's coming. All I can say is check back early and check back often. It seems to happen every couple of days. I think I've already heard, I think about 3 different times that it's been open, and each time a few more people from this community right here seem to get their orders in. So just maybe once or twice a day, go in. If you have a character that you want printed, go in once or twice a day, check, see if it's up, see if it's available. It says temporarily sold out when they stop taking orders, but every couple of days it seems that they do open up those orders. So they're not sold out forever yet. I would also encourage you to watch for the creator contest that is going on right now. I will have an article up about that soon, but Skylanders is hosting a creator contest where they're giving away 100 3D printed figures. So pay attention for that. That might be another way for you to get your order in there. Then we have, final question here. Will Crash and Neo come with a level? Will there be another adventure pack other than Airstrike 1 and the Elven Forest one? Alright, so, well, yes, Crash and Neo. They are available right now in the Crash Edition starter pack, and they do unlock the Thumpin' Wumpa Islands adventure pack, the level, and there is no level piece. This is how it differs from the other adventure packs. So like with the Griffin Park Observatory, you got Airstrike, a Creation Crystal, and then the Griffin Park Observatory level piece, which unlocks the level. Now with Crash and Cortex, they don't have a level piece. Putting either Crash or Cortex on the portal is what unlocks the level. That is they are a level piece themselves. So there is not going to be an additional level piece even when they're released separately. So Crash and Cortex are coming in the Thumpin' Wumpa Islands adventure pack. They are coming out as a separate release later this year, but it's just going to be the 2 figures. There won't be a third piece in that pack. It's just the 2 figures because they are what unlocks the level. So will there be another adventure pack other than Griffin Park Observatory and the Enchanted Elven Forest? Well, the answer is there is the Thumpin' Wumpa Islands, which is available now if you have the Crash Edition, or just one of the figures even. That's enough to unlock it. Or when it comes out later in a separate pack, it will be there as well. But that is all we know about. That's all I'm expecting. 3 adventure packs is about what we expect to get. I know the first year we had 4, but I think that was the exception. They toned down a little bit, and looks like we're only getting 3. So that's it. We finally made it through Ask Matt episode 2. So remember, if you want to ask me a question, just leave it down in the comments of this video. I'm reading them straight off of last week's video, so leave them in the comments of this week's video, and I will get to answer them next week. Remember the rules: 1 question per person per week. If you ask more than 1 question, I will not answer any of your questions. I know it sounds harsh, but that's the way I'm going to run it. And hopefully we can make this a weekly thing. If you guys keep coming up with the questions, I will keep coming up with the answers. Your questions, my answers, that's the whole thing. And that's all we have for Ask Matt this week. Stay tuned to next week, and we'll have more answers for your questions.